The barbarians who went through the coming-of-age ceremony with Bjorn are mostly dead, and it's impossible that it was really just the monsters that did it. Bjorn was angry because he had also gone through something similar. But, from what he heard, they didn't seem to be doing anything today. He thought about what he should do. Should he just kill them? That would be easy, but not good for the young barbarian. So he came up with a plan, woke Misha up, and told her to change her gear. The other group was resting when Bjorn shouted. Misha asked him why he did that. Bjorn said he just felt like it. Then they walked right into the other group's camp. He acted cheerful upon seeing people. They stopped Bjorn and woke up the barbarian with them. The young barbarian asked, "What is it? Is it a monster?" They told him it was an explorer. He asked, "Then why wake me up? I was sleeping nicely." The archer guy reminded him that they had been told to be cautious of explorers as well as monsters. The young barbarian said he remembered, but that guy was one of theirs. Bjorn also acted very happy to see him. Then the two met cheerfully and introduced themselves. The young barbarian's name was Charon, son of Tarsan. Bjorn used his fake full name again, Bjorn, son of Thor. They acted so friendly that both Misha and the others began to feel weird. Even though Misha knew Bjorn was acting, she still wanted to keep her distance for now. Charon made a weird face and told everyone to put down their weapons, saying that Thor's son Bjorn wasn't a bad explorer. Bjorn also made a weird face and repeated that he wasn't a bad explorer. Seeing their expressions, the group gave in, and their leader addressed Bjorn as Barbarian. Bjorn corrected him. "It's Thor's son, Bjorn." Then the leader called him Thor. Bjorn replied, "That's my father's name." Then the leader called him Bjorn. Bjorn said, "We're not that close. Call me by my full name." Their leader was so angry he was almost about to hit Bjorn, but Bjorn acted innocent and asked what was wrong. The leader, controlling his temper, asked Bjorn to leave, saying they were resting. Bjorn replied, "Ah, perfect then. We're also looking for a place to rest." The leader, confused, asked what he was talking about, but Bjorn kept going, saying he heard it's called Night Buddies. The enemy team was speechless at Bjorn's shameless and stubborn face. Their leader asked what he meant and told him that from the second floor onward, people don't form night buddy groups. It's common sense to form trustworthy parties. Bjorn asked, "So you don't do night buddies?" Their leader said, "If you understand that, then leave." But Bjorn got angry and called them stupid. He asked if their heads were just for decoration. Bjorn pointed out that there were 4 of them and 2 of Bjorn's group. So if 7 people rotated night watch, everyone could sleep more. He did the math wrong on purpose and acted like a dumb barbarian. Charon was shocked. He asked, "If such a good method exists, why haven't explorers done this from the start?" The enemy team was too stunned by the stupidity to say anything. Their leader looked at Misha and asked her to handle things, but then he noticed her, really noticed her, and his thoughts went wild as he scanned her body. He asked Misha what she thought. Misha was angry at his lustful eyes, but she held back and said she wasn't sure. "But since they have a barbarian with them, they must be good people," she added. "Actually, Bjorn lost his weapon, and I don't feel comfortable with someone doing night watch without one." The enemy leader got excited hearing that, but tried to hide his suspicion. So, Bjorn explained that he was bashing a monster when his weapon slipped from his hand and disappeared. The man believed the lame excuse. Bjorn asked again if they were doing the night buddy thing or not. The enemy group got greedy and said that while it wasn't normal, if they wanted to, they could rest for the night. Bjorn and Misha lay down, pretending to sleep. Misha whispered, "Do we really have to do all this?" Bjorn told her to stay quiet, and in return, he'd grant her one wish. Misha smiled and said, "You promise?" Then the enemy team started preparing to attack. 1 moved to Charon's side, and 2 approached Bjorn and Misha. They wanted to finish it in one blow. Bjorn yawned and pretended to wake up. He asked if anyone else was hungry. The others quickly hid their weapons and said yes, they also wanted to join. Bjorn said, "Sure," and started moving. They couldn't wait any longer. Their leader attacked Bjorn with full force, but it barely affected him. Bjorn turned back with an angry look and asked, "What are you doing?" The man said his hand slipped. Bjorn replied, "Even if you're starving, how do you make a mistake like that?" The leader insisted it was a mistake. Bjorn punched him in the face, breaking his teeth, and said, "My hand slipped too." Because of hunger. The commotion woke Karen up. He asked what was going on, but the bow guy was already behind him, and his teammates ordered him to shoot immediately. Thankfully, Karen saw the reflection on his axe and reacted quickly, blocking the arrow with his hand. He was nearly killed. He stood up in rage and asked the bow guy what he was doing. The bow guy stammered, but Karen grabbed his neck tightly and asked again why he wasn't answering. The bow guy tried to respond, but Karen tightened his grip and repeated the question. The spear guy was stunned. Before he could act, Misha knocked him out. She said, "I wasn't sure at first, but yeah, they really are plunderers." Bjorn turned to the archer, the only one still conscious and aware, and ordered him to read the notebook they had been passing among themselves. Loudly, Bjorn added. The archer hesitated, but opened the notebook with trembling fingers. He began to read aloud the words scribbled on the pages. "Why would you expect that from a barbarian? Are you planning to kill them too?" Their supposed leader had responded, "They're practically asking to be killed, so there's no reason to spare him." Another voice chimed in. "I found him suspicious. No barbarian can be that stupid." And then a third, "Suspicious? I'm all for it. And don't you get it? After all that killing, they just keep walking." The archer's voice started to break. He knew what came next, and he knew reading it would likely be the end of him. But Bjorn noticed the pause. "Why'd you stop?" Bjorn asked coldly. He stepped forward and grabbed the archer's hand, locking eyes with him. "Did what I told you sound like a joke to you?" Before the man could answer, Bjorn snapped one of his fingers cleanly. "Keep reading." Choking on sobs, the archer resumed. "They're just walking monsters, nothing more. Same intellect level, and whoever kills them first claims them." His voice cracked. Tears rolled down his face. He knew exactly what was coming next. Karen, standing to the side, stared in disbelief. "Who said that?" he asked, his voice low. "It was Victor," the archer whispered. Bjorn nodded. "Keep going." The archer turned the page and continued, though now every word shook in his throat. "Even if it's not the barbarian, the reward is good enough. That beast woman's just as dumb as the barbarian, but her face is pretty decent. I'll give her that. Shame she rolls around with him." Misha's eyes widened. She ripped the paper out of his hands and read the lines herself. Her expression shifted from confusion to outright fury. Face flushed, she clenched the pages in her fist. "Who wrote this?" she demanded. The archer barely managed to answer before she hissed, "I'll kill him myself!" Bjorn raised a hand to calm her and told the archer to skip that kind of talk. "Get to the part where they plan how to kill us," he said. The archer, still sniffling, nodded and turned to the next passage. He swallowed hard and read his own line. "I'll take care of Karen. He underestimates me because I'm an archer, and it pisses me off. He doesn't even know he's going to die." Karen looked like he'd been punched in the gut. He blinked, stunned. "I don't even know what I did wrong," he muttered, confused. Then he looked to Bjorn. "What should I do?" Bjorn didn't reply with words. Instead, Karen stepped forward, and with a single, clean stroke, he chopped the archer's head off. The leader of the group, still unconscious, woke up moments later, only to scream as Misha crushed his groin with a swift and brutal stomp. He barely had time to react before Bjorn took off his head as well. Then came the last man's turn. He fell to his knees in front of Bjorn, sobbing and begging for his life. "I won't do something like this again," he promised. "I swear it. I'll change." Bjorn tilted his head. "So what? You'll become a good bandit?" "Yes," the man gasped. "I'll do what you say. I don't even know what I'm saying anymore." Bjorn said nothing. He reached down, grabbed the man's head and jaw, and with one brutal twist, ended it. His eyes, cold and unreadable, didn't waver for a second. After everything had settled, Karen poured only half a bottle of healing potion on his wounded hand. He left the rest untreated on purpose. Barbarians saw scars as badges of honor, marks of weakness overcome, reminders to become stronger warriors. Bjorn walked over and told Karen to take whatever he needed from the hunter's belongings. "I'm not that shameless," Karen replied. "I took something myself," Bjorn said. "At least take one thing." Karen nodded. "If that's the case..." He picked up a hammer and gave it a few test swings. "If my axe can't get the job done, I'll use this instead." "That all you're taking?" Bjorn asked. "It's all I need," Karen said. "Besides, the rest of the stuff's too small to carry around." Bjorn shrugged. You can always sell what you don't need. Just advice. Soon after, Bjorn offered to accompany Karen back to the first floor. When they returned, Bjorn reintroduced himself, this time with his real identity. Karen raised an eyebrow. Wait, you're that Bjorn? Bjorn smirked. Yeah, people call me Little Vulcan. Karen's eyes widened. Then I'll sell what you gave me without hesitation and get myself some proper gear. Bjorn nodded in approval. Good thinking. The stronger you get, the easier it'll be for young warriors to survive. I'll make sure of it, Karen said firmly. Bjorn was doing all this for a reason. The Barbarian tribe was the weakest among all the races. Individually, they had potential, but too many were targeted, and without proper education or support, most died before they had the chance to grow. But what if that started to change? What if it began with Karen? If more young barbarians survived, if more reached the top ranks as explorers, the cycle of success would strengthen the entire tribe. Whether Bjorn liked it or not, he was one of them, and a stronger tribe would benefit him too. Mages were the perfect example. Without the Magic Tower community behind them, could they really have been so arrogant, so untouchable? The revival of the barbarian tribe was still far off, but planting small seeds like this made it possible. So Bjorn began giving Karen advice. How to pick a good team, why it was smart to include at least one person from another race, and other tips he'd learned the hard way. Karen listened to every word carefully. Then, in a tone much darker than before, he said, Thank you, Bjorn, son of Yandel. Hiding an axe behind kindness, it's a strong tactic. From now on, I'll only take humans as my overnight companions. And if any of them show their true nature, he paused, I'll crush their skulls. His eyes were cold, his expression unreadable. The incident had clearly left a deeper mark on him than expected. He added, If I ever meet a young warrior, I'll tell them what happened to me. I'll pass on your advice for the sake of our kind. Bjorn felt a little nervous hearing that intensity. Okay, he said. One thing was clear. Whoever messed with Karen from now on was absolutely, irreversibly screwed. After that, Bjorn and Misha returned to the second floor. Land of the Dead. They had been searching for the Death Knight for 2 days now, and Bjorn was starting to wonder if it was time to give up. Misha noticed his frustration and said, Don't be so down. I haven't heard anything about a large gravestone where the Death Knight is summoned on the 7th day. Not every book is going to be right, you know? Maybe you should stop cooping yourself up in the library and come out with me once in a while. Bjorn raised an eyebrow. That's the alternative? Misha turned a little red, but before she could reply, Bjorn said, Forget it. Let's keep moving. Suddenly, both of them felt a cold chill crawl down their spines. A status effect, resentment, had been triggered. It reduced their healing and regeneration speed. To confirm it, Bjorn bit it into his lower lip and started counting. Normally, the small wound would heal in seconds, but it didn't. That's when a grin spread across his face. They had found it. The Death Knight was close, very close. They broke into a run. Resentment was one of the Death Knight's active skills, and if it was already active, that meant it had just been summoned. Someone else had found it, and likely already attacked. A player, maybe. Bjorn had to be careful, but all he cared about was the experience points. And if the Death Knight was already in battle, there was still a chance to land the final blow. Misha looked uneasy. What are you going to do? Bjorn didn't answer. He already had a plan. As they approached, they saw another team fighting the Death Knight. Without hesitation, Bjorn dashed forward and struck the final blow. You have defeated the Death Knight, gained 4 experience points. Reminds me of that one friend who always stole my kills with a last hit. With the Death Knight down, Bjorn switched to his signature stupid face and shouted, Don't worry, I've come to save you. The other team was stunned by what just happened. Misha was shocked too, but in a very different way. The other team's reaction was immediate, especially the elf girl. She looked furious. I could feel her emotion through the scene, and honestly, I understood. I'd be pissed too if someone stole my kill. Then again, maybe she was extra angry because elves and barbarians didn't exactly get along. Bjorn kept playing dumb, asking why they were mad when he just helped them. Misha jumped in, pretending Bjorn was out of control, and apologized on his behalf. Then one of the team members stepped forward. I know this guy. He's the 3rd floor guy, Little Vulcan. Bjorn recognized him too. He was the one who had warned others to leave early and shared bits of info about Ryakis. So he was a player after all. The rest of the team softened. If he's Little Vulcan, then maybe this really was a misunderstanding. Maybe he acted with good intentions. The elf girl still didn't look convinced. The player stepped forward and said, "There's no way a hero like him would do something as petty as kill stealing." That's when Bjorn realized the real purpose of building a good reputation. It covered you. Meanwhile, Misha stood beside him, failing miserably at hiding her terrible poker face. The player extended his hand. "Let's introduce ourselves properly." Bjorn took his hand and nodded. "Bjorn?" "And I'm Hans Kreisen," the player said. The moment the name left his mouth, a familiar fear shot down Bjorn's spine. Bjorn was so afraid of Hans that the moment he heard the name, his body tensed up. Without hesitation, he backed down and raised a hand, shouting at the player who possessed Hans's body. "Stop! Right there!" Then, without waiting for a response, he grabbed Misha by the arm and took off running. The presence of a player inside Hans' body brought too much chaos for Bjorn to handle at once. He couldn't think, only react. Misha, breathless and struggling to keep up, glanced sideways at him. "Why are we running like this? What's going on?" "I'll explain later," Bjorn muttered, eyes scanning ahead. "Right now, we need to get out of here." Behind them, the player stood still, just as confused by what had happened. But Bjorn's heart was already pounding, not from the sprint, but from the dread of what might happen next. Meanwhile, the first floor had finally reopened. People who had been waiting inside began to spill out, and among them was Charon. As soon as he stepped into the open air, he threw his head back and laughed, loud and booming. The other barbarians noticed him instantly. Relief washed over Charon's face as he spotted his comrades alive and well. "You're all still standing," he said with a grin. They eyed the heavy bags and unfamiliar equipment strapped to his back. "Where did all that come from?" one of them asked, suspicious. "You looted someone?" Charon chuckled and motioned for them to gather around. No. Let me tell you what happened to me." As he told his story, the group's expressions darkened. Anger and disbelief filled the air. They weren't monsters, they said. They were warriors. But Charon's tale only fueled their emotions more. He spoke of Bjorn, how he had seen into the minds of vile plunderers and survived where many would have fallen. The others began to glorify what Bjorn had done, their respect for him growing even deeper. Word of their loud voices spread quickly. People nearby began whispering, but not all of it was praise. Some scoffed at the barbarians, calling them useless, noisy, only good for their big hearts. That mockery was the spark that ignited Charon's fury. He clenched his fists and turned to his kin. "From this moment on," he declared, "I'll pass on the same teachings that Bjorn, the son of Yandel, spoke. This will be our first noble step. All of us." The winds were shifting, and Hans's presence or curse had already begun to ripple through them all. In the depths of the labyrinth, Bjorn had already reached the third floor. He barely managed to find the portal, navigating without a scout. In truth, he only succeeded because he had secretly followed a passing group of explorers. Later, he finally spoke to Misha about what had been haunting him. "There's something about the name Hans," he said. "Something cursed." Misha looked uneasy. "If that name really is such a bad omen, shouldn't we just return to the first floor?" "It's not confirmed," Bjorn replied. "And even if it's true, going back to the city wouldn't change anything. In times like this, the best way to minimize loss is to finish the job." Misha sighed. "If you say so. But don't mention that name again. I feel uneasy now, too." Bjorn chuckled. "I don't know much about happy things, but sharing the bad ones, it really does cut them in half." She gave him a half-hearted glare. "Is that really something you should say, you crazy barbarian fool?" His smirk widened. "I was just kidding." "Don't lie. I saw it in your eyes. You meant every word." Bjorn hesitated, then said more softly, "Maybe I was, unconsciously relying on you." Misha's breath caught in her throat. A blush rose to her cheeks, and her anger melted into something gentler. "Well, thank you for telling me. You don't have to carry everything alone. From now on, you can rely on me for anything." She was smiling, bright, warm, sincere. And for a second, it felt like something had changed between them. Bjorn blinked. Then with a grin, "I was joking." He turned and bolted. "Bjorn!" Misha shouted, laughing and furious at the same time. "You idiot!" and she chased after him, her footsteps echoing in the depths of the labyrinth.